You're not gonna believe this. This little boy, not even as big as a finger, is actually the firstborn son of the giant king. He was born deaf and mute, and his body was incredibly frail. Every time he went outside, people would rob him, until all he had left was his white underwear. Everyone laughed at him, called him an idiot. But this kid dreamed of becoming the greatest king who ever lived. One day, Prince Boji ran outside the city to play, and ran into a shadow creature stealing money. Boji got scared and bolted, but the shadow creature caught up fast. It told Boji to hand over the money, but Boji can't speak. All he could do was make these muffled sounds. That's when the shadow creature realized Boji was deaf and mute. The weird part is, they're completely different species, but somehow they could actually understand each other. The shadow creature pulled out a knife, threatened Boji to give up the money, and if he had no money, to strip off his clothes. Boji didn't even hesitate. He took everything off on the spot.
お前、見込みあるじゃねえか。よし、明日も高そうな服を着てこい。
Then nodded hard like yeah sure, and happily ran back to the castle. The people on the street saw him, and couldn't stop laughing, but Boji just kept smiling the whole time. Because that thief was the only one who could actually communicate with him, Boji just wanted a friend so badly. From that day on, Boji would dress up in his finest clothes every morning, then go out and give them to the shadow creature Kak. Over time, Kak started getting curious about Boji. One day right after Boji left, Kak quietly followed him. He wanted to know who this little kid actually was. But along the way, Kak watched everyone mock Boji. Even little kids had the nerve to mess with him. Seeing that, Kak started feeling genuinely guilty. Boji walked back into the royal palace, and that's when Kak realized this little boy who everyone pushed around was actually a prince. Not long after, Boji ran into his stepmother the queen. She saw him running around half naked every day, and she was humiliated. She said Boji was disgracing the royal family, and that someone like him had no business ever sitting on the throne. She turned and walked away without another word. That's when Boji's sword instructor came over and signed to him, "Go change your clothes. The king wants to see you." Kak followed Boji back to his room and found him alone, crying quietly to himself. But Boji wiped his tears fast, forced a smile onto his face, and ran off to his father's chambers. It was heartbreaking how mature he was. That's when Kak finally understood. Boji wasn't stupid at all. He had just been quietly carrying all of this pain alone. Boji used everything he had just to push open the tiny door made just for him. The old king lay in bed, looking at him with so much love. Who would have thought that the man who once single-handedly defeated an entire army of monsters and built the kingdom of Bors from scratch was now gravely ill? With very little time left, he desperately wanted Boji to grow up fast and take the throne one day, so he brought in the greatest sword master in the kingdom to train Boji, but Boji just couldn't get it. Then out of nowhere, the arrogant second Prince Daida showed up at the training ground and challenged his older brother to a sparring match. The sword master watched Daida move and immediately saw it. This kid was insanely talented. He was the student he actually wanted. Boji noticed the instructor's eyes glued to his little brother, and he was not having it. He grabbed a wooden stick and accepted the challenge. The fight drew a crowd of royal guards almost instantly. The second it started, Daida swung hard, and Boji dodged it like nothing. Daida kept attacking over and over, and couldn't land a single hit. See, Boji was born deaf and mute, but his other senses were off the charts. He had trained himself into an insane ability to dodge. Boji slipped every attack, and lightly tapped Daida on the head with his stick. Daida lost it, and started going even more crazy with his attacks. But he still couldn't touch Boji, and kept getting tapped instead. Kak was watching from the side, and couldn't help feeling happy for Boji, because Boji was finally proving he wasn't useless. But the guards figured Boji could only dodge and counter, and had zero presence of a true king. Then his instructor suddenly signed to Boji, face him head on. Just like that, Boji lost his biggest advantage, and had no choice but to stand there and take the hits.